The story inside the novel consisted of a world that faced calamity with towers and dungeons springing forth and creating monsters, with Korea taking the brunt of the attacks. Heroes arose to stop the calamity and get the towers and dungeons under control. Korea soon became a global power. A hero institution was then founded, known as the Cube, where hero cadets came to learn. It's also where the hero and his rival started off. And somehow, the author of the story ends up in the world. The author hears the characters speaking about the main character of the story, Kim Soo-ho, a heroic character with a special secret. Then there's his rival, Shin Jong-hak, a future villain that believes in elitism. While he wonders what's happening, another character refers to him as Kim Chun-dong. After the initial shock from the name, the second shock is that he has a question mark for a face. Seeing that he has a basic name and zero presence, he realizes that he became an extra in his own novel. Prior to this, the author had received an email in the real world regarding the web novel he wrote that he stopped serializing. The person wanted to remake his novel, and when the author agreed, he was transmigrated into his own novel. The author gives up on finding a way back after 2 weeks and decides to wait till the middle of the story when the releases stop in the real world. He heads to Cube, an artificial island on the eastern sea that holds the esteemed hero training school. He intends to go since Chun-dong, the character he possesses, got in as a Cube cadet. He gets assigned to the Truth class, where the main characters reside. He isn't too happy having to deal with the politics that will go on here. After a draining day, he goes to his room to find a parcel containing his laptop. He opens it up only for light to flash, and his stats and appearance changing to Kim Ha-jin. He also acquired the unique authority, Setting Intervention. He regains his real appearance and realizes he achieved enlightenment, an awakening phenomenon that occurs when one surpasses their limits and gives you the ability to see your stats and skills in the form of a status window. His stats have gone down from Chun-dong's, but he received points in return. He can also receive story points based on his importance in the world. There's also a status window that says that it will be unlocked when the main story ends, possibly a way to return to his original world. Ha-jin decides to increase his involvement to find a way back before he uses stat points to purchase story points. He invests them in luck and perseverance before a notification pops up, restricting the use of story points in stats, unfortunately. Kim Soo-hyuk, the instructor, introduces himself before giving the cadets a breakdown of the tough regime they'll be going through before taking them to pick weapons. Based on his stats, Ha-jin picks firearms, the weapon he has real-world experience in. Soo-hyuk checks Ha-jin's record and asks him why he switched from using a sword. The rest of the class isn't on board with the idea either, but Ha-jin ignores them. The most common bullet type is the magic bullet, but even with its destructive force, it doesn't fare well against other cadets because its destructiveness doesn't scale with the user. Another drawback is that other weapons tend to have a long history, which increases their weapon's rank. Guns have a relatively short history, so the same isn't applied to them. In his room, Ha-jin decides to use his authority to write the talent, Master Sharpshooter, for himself. He gains bullet time, proficiency in all long-ranged weapons, and the ability to see and judge long-distance targets as skills. The talent will also grow with experience, an added plus point. In class, Ha-jin thinks of passing with his observation and browsing skills when it's announced that the students must come for practical training. In the courtyard, 4-member teams are made that will last until the midterm test. Ha-jin gets placed with Yoo Yeon-ha, the main inheritor of Korea's #1 guild, Essence of the Strait. She's one of the main characters, hence a good source of story points. The other members, Jin Hoseong and Hazuki, approach Yeon-ha before Ha-jin introduces himself as well. After a small chat, the instructor shows up and tells the 4 to go face the monster assigned to them. The cadets rush off, with Ha-jin's stamina pushed to its limits from the running. They finally reach the training beach to find the black hump octopus. The 4 discuss the monster's strengths, with specific attention to the hump on its head, through which it can send blood-sucking baby octopi to attack. These babies can also turn normal people into mummies. Yeon-ha proposes a plan with her facing the octopi, and Ha-jin notices that she's excluding him from the training. With their roles set, Hoseong lures the octopus to the beach, officially starting the mission. The octopus immediately launches baby octopi, and Yeon-ha dispatches them with ease. But during the fight, a hidden baby octopus does a sneak attack, but Hajin destroys it in the nick of time. To gain story points, Hajin must secure a bigger role in the story. Hence, he needs to jump into events that main characters go through. He's found his way in, and the monster launches multiple octopi at him, which he swiftly destroys using bullet time. When used, the flow of time becomes slower for 3 seconds, allowing him to instantly blast through them. With him taking care of the nuisances, the other 3 quickly bind and take out the monster. Their results are calculated, and with the team receiving 16th place. Yonha isn't too happy with 16th place, especially because Nayun's team ranked 4th. Seeing Nayun garner attention from Jonghak, she goes to her cheerfully, and the two talk about their training. Nayun praises her that she was able to achieve that ranking with a gunman on the team. Although Yonha realizes that other than the 50 minutes wasted on the 10-minute route, Hajin's contribution in the battle was exceptionally high. After training, Hajin checks to see that most of them have increased due to his luck. Yonha analyzes the training recordings at night and wonders how Hajin shot a gun 60 times within 3 seconds. She realizes that Hajin's agility is extraordinary, but feels suspicious over the fact that he changed weapons and how his vitality is below average. She receives a message from Jonghak, her crush, and the two talk a bit about Hajin as well. At the Creator's Sacred Grace Guild headquarters, Yun Seong-ah, the deputy guildmaster, is fawning over Suho's skills. She understands why all big guilds are gunning for him. The next cadet she analyzes is Hajin. Seeing how high of a performance he showed with a low-end weapon, she realizes that he must be enlightened. Although enlightenment at the age of 17 is appealing, the weapon itself leaves more to be desired. The nickname Hajin has been given is Heretic. Anti-personnel training begins with Hajin being the only one paired with an instructor, since a firearm doesn't yet have a model safe for training. Hajin starts off with a hard time, but starts haphazardly evading with his 1,000-mile eyes ability. He gains 40 story points from the interesting spectacle he put on. After the training, Yonha passes by Hajin while he's using the vending machine. He decides to call out to her and throws her a soft drink. She throws the can back before telling him not to speak to her casually, only to find another snuck into her bag after she'd walked off. Hajin knows she has a soft spot for junk food. Hajin thinks of the next part of the story, the Jinn attack on the National Weapon Museum. The Jinn are people contracted with the devil, and the incident occurs to assassinate a certain someone. Hajin intends to slip himself into this incident to involve himself with Suho and Nayun. Hajin receives an email as he's called out by an instructor. There are 100 different clubs at Cube, and the one Hajin plans to participate in is the Travel Club to socialize. The president of the Healing Rain Club is Oh Han-yun. Nan-yun and Yonha are participating as well. Han-yun explains that the club travels around using portals and plans to go to Seoul today for group socialization. Hajin intends to get into the group that will go to the museum. The groups will be chosen through lots, and Hajin gets paired with Yonha. She tells him they'll be going separately. Hajin heads to the museum where he finds Nanyun and Suho. He approaches Suho and has a chat with him before the alarms go off, saying that monsters have appeared outside the museum. The crowd starts to panic, but Nanyun calms them down, albeit aggressively. She grabs a weapon from the display before a djinn named Lucius's dog appears before the barricades lower. Suho attacks and, according to Hajin's memory, should easily defeat him, but he gets sent flying instead. Hajin is shocked to see this play out differently to what he wrote. Even Nayun's attacks fail and she's about to get attacked by the djinn, but Suho intervenes only to get overpowered again. Nayun tries to protect him but ends up getting pinned by the djinn. Hajin panics and tries to ready his weapon but realizes that the bullets won't affect the monster in their current state. He increases their destructiveness and changes their attribute to light with story points in order to combat the darkness attribute of the djinn. He yells at Suho to get out of the way before firing at the djinn. The djinn gets his arm blown off, giving Suho an opportunity to use his Sword Saint's magic power to destroy the monster. Suho then tries to ask Nanyun if she's okay, but she swipes his hand away. Hajin tells Suho that he can pull back since her brother will come to console her soon, which shocks the two. Meanwhile, Seong-ah is taking care of monsters when she gets a report that the djinn has been taken out by 3 cadets. Hearing Suho's name, she rushes to the museum. She meets Hajin on the way, who tells her that Suho is inside, before she'd even asked. Outside the museum, Hajin considers that his character shouldn't be important enough to influence the story, before remembering that this world is the remake version of the novel he wrote, considering the person who wanted to remake it. If that's the case, then his predictions are now useless. Hajin opens his laptop to see a message from the co-author. It talks about how the main characters never encounter danger, which can become boring. Thus, he increased the enemy levels in the story. Follow if you want to zap into the latest anime trends and hit the subscribe button so you never miss any update from us.